listening to Hooked on Startups, where every week you'll hear from some of the most talented, inspiring, and successful entrepreneurs who shared their real-life stories, how they overcame challenges and failures, and how they mastered success. Get ready for some of the best business tips, tricks and tactics, and some frank, unscripted discussions. Here's your host, Matthew Sullivan.
I am thrilled beyond words to have Ken Dubner on the show today. Ken, welcome to Hooked on Startups.
Thank you for that introduction. Dang.
Yeah, I caught you off guard there, you see.
Yeah, I've got something that I've got to live up to. Okay.
So Ken is the founder and the CEO of Mind Training Solutions. So you're a renowned hypnotherapist. You're a speaker, a seminar leader. You have decades of experience teaching people how to use their minds more effectively, which is critical. And I really want to dive into that. So you're also, this is fabulous. You're a 25-year veteran of comedy and stage hypnosis, which I would imagine is incredibly difficult to do. And you've been on HBO and A&E and Discovery Science and Discovery Health channels. And you were a stand-up comedian for 12 years, amongst other things. So there's all of this. Right now, you are a frequent speaker and lecturer at the UCLA School of Dentistry. So there's this fabulous blend of sort of taking things lightly, but with this really solid, learned, educational, background. So, it's fabulous having you on the show. I can't wait.
Matthew, I want to hire you as my publicist.
That's right. Yeah, wait till you get to the end of the show.
The accent always adds credibility.
I know. It's the only thing I've got, so I'm sticking to it. But tell me, how there's a sort of transition. So I think the two things are very related. Stand-up comedy is an understanding of the mind to a certain extent. Do you think that's what makes a great stand-up comic?
Definitely. To be a good stand-up comic, you've got to understand yourself, and you've got to understand the psychology, not just of individuals, but of a crowd. One of the things I work with a lot with people are people that are speakers, because they see me on stage, they see the confidence, and they understand I walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk. And one of the things I teach them right up front is a crowd is an entity unto itself. First, it's a mob. It's unruly. And then it becomes an audience because you bring the attention to you, you lead it. But it'll always have its own personality. Every audience is different. Everyone. And you have to play the audience as well as have good written material or improv material that hits people on a psychological level. So really, it is one of the greatest testing grounds for getting to understand human nature. That and bartending.
Yeah, yes. But I think there's more research and more material required in stand-up than bartending, I think.
I don't know. You got to go to a 3-day bartending. I did that when I was 21. So I had 3 whole days of bartending school. I learned a lot about human nature when I was 21. You don't really know very much. And you go bartend in a bar in a less.
I would imagine, because I've only ever been on this side of a bar. So I guess when you're on the other side, you see life from the other end of the lens.
You watch people change.
Yes. And
when you think about it, what do? I help people change, right? I help them change in a good direction. Well, I watch people at a bar change very quickly. They're doing it with that chemical that is alcohol, but I'm watching them change their behaviors. So as a comic, you're reading behaviors. You're looking at human behavior through a different lens than everyone else. As a bartender, you got to learn to read behaviors, because you can get in a lot of trouble if you don't read the right behavior at the right time. And as of what I do now, it's all about human behavior.
And I think that is a fantastic way of looking at it, because if you imagine yourself as a bartender, you see people decay through alcohol in a very nice way sometimes, most times. But the person who's busy getting drunk is not aware necessarily of how they're changing, because to themselves, they think that they're fine, they're happy. But to an outside observer, you can see and probably document those changes. And is that very similar to the sort of thing that you would be doing with your with your hypnotherapy, as it were, or with your training, where you're seeing people from a perspective where they can't see necessarily as themselves?
I have never had an interview where someone pointed that out as succinctly as you have. And I've never actually brought up the bartending part of it either in an interview. But yes, it's exactly what I'm doing. I tell people, Because when you're in my office, I have a different lens. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at your body language, how you breathe.
Yes. Yes.
In an estimation of what are you saying to yourself? How are you saying it to yourself? Are you viewing yourself this way or that way? It's years of experience, but it's also my own unconscious intuition, my own creativity. I have to be in that state. It's called uptime. If you do NLP, I have to be in this very focused state on you.
Yeah.
Because of that, you're kind of under the microscope. So one of the things I have to tell people when they first come in is, because I'll notice a lot of things about you and you'll get that look on your face like, wow, is that so obvious?
Yes.
And I'll have to say to people straight out, no one else is probably noticing this, or very few people. This is my job. This is what I do. I see the pattern. I see beneath the surface. I don't listen to the conscious mind because that's a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah.
I look for the unconscious understandings, patterns, and emotional connections, beliefs.
And a lot of those unconscious, a lot of the body language signals are directly connected to the unconscious mind. So you can't hide those.
Here's the thing. There's 4 quadrants by which we take in reality, external reality, and we make our own internal subjective reality. All right. And you can picture a diamond. And actually, I'm writing a book called Life's Secret Formula, and it's based on this formula.
Okay.
Which you can find at my website, but the diamond looks like this. On the top, there's an LM for logical mind. On the left side, there's a B for body. On the right side, there's a P for perceptions. And a larger part of the diamond goes all the way down, and down there is EM for emotional mind. The body, how do you breathe? Your body language, how you move. How are you feeling that day? Do you have a cold? Do you have allergies?
Yeah.
All of those things will affect what's your neurochemistry like, will affect how you take in information and form your subjective reality. The logical mind, which could be thought of as the conscious mind in a way, that's the part of you that has the conversation, the internal dialogue, is that logical mind. It's trying to be logical. In 22 years of doing this, I've learned that we're all just little kids in big kid bodies using the big kid words to impress other little kids in big kid bodies. That's it. And that's what I do differently, is I don't listen to that part. When you come in, I really don't, I don't pay much attention to that, because that's not what really runs the show. Perceptions are how we focus our perceptions. How are we making big pictures, little pictures of negative events, big pictures of the positive thing. Are we in the picture? Are we looking at it? There's all different ways to play with our perceptions and what we focus on. But the emotional mind, which you can think of also as the unconscious, the subconscious, a million words for it, the emotional mind.
Yeah.
That's what really runs the show. All those other 3 can affect the emotional mind. But until you make change on an emotional level, nothing changes. That's where your beliefs are. The beliefs that were formed throughout your life, it's by definition unconscious. And it is neither logical or reasonable. And this is the hardest part to explain about the hypnotherapy portion of what I do, because I work with people on all those levels. Hypnotherapy at its core is something that speaks to the unconscious mind. Well, the emotional unconscious mind is not logical or rational.
Yeah.
So when you try and explain the process of hypnotherapy, a lot of times people get caught up in trying to logically explain it.
Yes.
Well, I can't really explain to you what I would do with you in a session.
Yeah.
I could give you direct suggestions, and that works great for people's logical minds. They love that. Oh, I was told not to do this, therefore my brain can take it in. But at a deeper level, you're dealing with emotions that are symbolic. You are dealing with a realm that is poetry, prose, music, all the parts of us that are creative, and there's no logic to it.
Yeah.
So people will tell me, Ken, I know it's crazy, but, and then they'll tell me what they actually do. And that's because their belief system supports doing it, but their logical, rational part of them, that logical mind, understands that logically it makes no sense. Here's the problem. They will then try to have a rational, logical discussion with me about, well, how do we get back? And I'll say, look, I can give you pieces of it.
Yes.
But I have to get into the belief system. Luckily, you can affect things. I give people tools in the body, in the logical mind, how you talk to yourself, how you play with your perceptions, that can help you. And then with both hypnotherapy and also giving people recordings, I'm able to help them on the belief system.
Which is great, because I think there's one of the quotes I saw, I think it was on one of the articles that you wrote, was that there is a direct link between what we think we are and who we are.
Definitely.
But
it's what we think we are on an unconscious, deep level. We, on a logical level, we think we are this, we know we are this, we have the conversation. I am this. I am an entrepreneur. I have all the talent in the world, and therefore I will do well. That sounds logical. Or I am an entrepreneur. I understand money. I have this connection and all the great reasons why the business will work. But if on a deep belief level, there's a part of you that truly believes unconsciously, I will fail.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Maybe you were taught our family has always been poor and will always be poor. You're never going to make it. Our people aren't business people, you know, or the opposite. And this is where I was for many years as someone in the healing arts.
Yeah.
Business people, they're not like us. They're all about the money. They're not people that care. And then I found about conscious commerce and people that are actually very connected with helping people that are business people. And it shifted my deep belief and it helped me to change as a business person because we're all doing business in a way.
Okay, let me give you an example because I completely agree with everything you're saying. But I think one of the things that I certainly struggled with was understanding that you can change your own mind. So if you take an example where the typical Sunday night, it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning, your brain starts churning because what you want it to do for some reason, because you're crazy and you don't understand what's good for you, is you really want to start. You're creating all these scenarios, all these what if scenarios. So you're actually going slightly insane at about 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
But you think, because it's going on in my head, what can I do about it? It's a closed wall. But what I figured out is actually you can talk to yourself. And I think that's another one of
that's the logical mind. You can play with cognitive behavioral techniques, cover that. I do a lot of talk with people about what the internal dialogue is, how you're talking. What are you saying to yourself? Are you speaking positively? Most of us will say things to ourselves that if we had a child and someone said it to them, I'd punch that guy in the face.
Yes.
Now, honestly, we say heinous things to ourselves. We do all the time.
But sometimes even the most simple things, so there's a certain amount of magic in what you do, because if you can come up with a certain phrase that triggers certain events to happen in someone's mind, that can have a profound effect. And I remember reading a phrase from, I think it was David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, that the seminal work, which was that your brain is used for innovation and for creation, not for storage. So in other words, why store stuff in your head? Write it down or put it somewhere else. And I had this sort of Einstein, aha moment and these are the types of events that made a profound effect on the way that I thought. And do you see that even with the smartest business leaders?
Especially with the smartest business leaders. The smarter you are, the more complex your mind is. And the better your logical defenses are. So for instance, when I work with lawyers, here's the one thing I tell lawyers. I say, I will not engage in a logical talk about anything with you when it comes to your problem, because you're a lawyer and you'll win.
Yes.
I will talk only to you on a deeper level when it comes to this stuff, because you have a bunch of logical reasons where you do this because, and you might understand the process, but that hasn't helped you change the process. You said something interesting to me about why hold it in your head. One of the things I have clients do that are in overload, and a lot of people that are entrepreneurs are in overload, is I tell them, do a brain dump.
Yeah.
And do it once a week. Write down everything in your head. Spend 5 minutes literally just writing down everything. It won't always make linear sense. Don't try and make it neat. Don't try and make sense, whatever it is. I want to buy a cat. It doesn't matter. Just let it all out. All right. You don't have to organize it or anything. It's literally just releasing the pressure. Now, if you look that over, you'll see, oh, wait, I hadn't thought of that in a long time. I do need to do that. That's great. I want to do this. By the way, it's better to say I want to do something than I need to.
Yes.
And as far as the self-talk, let me give you a little nugget, because I like giving nuggets.
Yes.
All right, my little nugget is this. Positive thinking would say, I can become a millionaire. Let's go with that. Everyone likes the money part.
Yes.
But if you're, not worth very much money, and you come from a family that wasn't worth very much money, and your background isn't very much money, you may, on an unconscious level, be thinking, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, if that part of you believes that, you'll do everything you can to support that belief, because what you really believe is it's safer for me not to be. Our people are safe being this. So this comes back to the emotional mind. The emotional mind was designed to help us survive.
Yeah.
It was designed to keep us out of danger. And therefore, making change to the emotional mind was not something it was designed to do. So in order to change that emotional mind, there's things I can do, but there's things you can do. Here's one of them. a lot of self-help people would say then, yes, say I'm a millionaire. Allow yourself to say it over and over again. And I'll say, hey, if it's too big a leap to you, don't do that. Instead, say, what if I could become a millionaire? What if allows your brain to get out of its own way? That one little, adding that statement, what if I could, changes the dialogue, because you can't say I can't. It's not the answer you get. But when you say I am, you say, no, I'm not. What if I could? You are literally making a picture. If I said, Matthew, what if you could ride an elephant, a pink elephant?
Yes.
Imagine doing it, because there's nothing to argue with that. I'm saying what if. It's called a softener in sales. There's a lot of different neurolinguistic programming words, terms and terminology for it, but really just think, what if I could? So anything that you're trying to do, if you find you're having a hard time conceptualizing it, literally some people can't conceptualize it.
Yeah.
To which I say, well, what if you could conceptualize it? And people will then go, oh, and I guess it would be this, this, and this. That little phrase is like magic. You got it with yourself. You got to practice these things. That's a logical mind way of affecting a belief system.
And clearly what you're doing is something that you've fine-tuned from nearly 2.5, 3 decades of experience and talking to people, combined with education and learning and school. So you've created your own process, which I think you describe as NeuroSomatic Synthesis.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the key points there? Is there a handful of, or maybe 1 or 2 issues or behaviors that successful people or entrepreneurs have more than anybody else that you can identify and fix pretty quickly?
The ones that I predominantly deal with, and the things that I find is, here's another secret formula of life. When you raise your confidence and you lower your stress, you perform better and you're happier, period. That's it. You raise your level of confidence and you lower your stress and anxiety levels. So in teaching people to raise their confidence and lower their anxiety levels, I don't care what you're doing in life. You're a college student, you're an entrepreneur, you're a guy that works in sanitation. Your life's going to be better. And if you decide to do something, you're going to perform better. We get ourselves jammed up because we technically really don't have confidence in something, or we get stressed by it. And what is stress, by the way? What is anxiety? You don't have the confidence that you can handle it. Confidence is either the belief in yourself, the belief in your fate, which is a bigger thing, or the belief that you have the ability to handle what comes. And part of what I do with all clients is build that resiliency, because as an entrepreneur, you're going to take hits.
Yeah.
It is one of the tenets of what I do with people is it's never a straight line. Here's a problem we have as entrepreneurs, I think. You make a plan. This for a long time was a problem for me.
Yeah.
In any kind of long-term goal setting. You make a plan, but it's never going to go to plan. So really what you're doing is making a destination and allowing yourself to plan ways to get there. But you have to understand, you seldom are going directly there. It's going to take you a little off course, this way, this way, this way. Then you're going to have to go back towards it. That's life. And when you realize that, when you take a big hit and you realize, wow, I've taken a couple of steps back, I've gotten diminished by this hit. Oh, wait, it's never a straight line.
Yeah.
Now I got to get back on course versus, wait, I was supposed to go straight towards this goal. In a year, I was supposed to be there. And now my whole business went south.
Yes.
Oh, I guess I'm defeated. No, you just gone in a different direction for a moment. Now bring it back in that direction.
So let's talk about that in the context of goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you hear from people, 2 years time, I want a Ferrari or I want to lose weight. I want to be 50 pounds lighter or something. But is the importance of goal setting, as you were saying just now, is it incremental steps or is it the moonshot?
It's both. The goal setting, the moonshot is the fun part. And some people, again, here's another tenet. You should see me put my hands up like that.
Yes.
All right. This means one hand, for those of you who are listening, one hand, my right hand and left hand are about 7 inches apart and they're facing each other. So one hand represents where you're at as far as whatever it is you got going on in your mind. Is you come to me because you're not confident, you are overly stressed, you're not performing as well, or you're not happy. And you think, okay, I need therefore to be more confident, or I need therefore to be more outgoing. Let's go with that one. I'm shy, I need to be outgoing. Well, Do you need to be all the way on the other hand where you're just basically the clown of the party every minute of the day? No, you seldom need that. By the way, you don't need to be fully introverted, but there's a strength in that. Every strength is a weakness. Every weakness is a strength. There's times when if you shut up, you're going to get a much better result than if you talk. So it's being able to negotiate between those two extremes, the flexibility to find the sweet spot in the behavior. Now, goal setting, sometimes people are stuck because they can't make the picture in the future. They can't imagine it.
Exactly.
So what if you could? And there's a lot of ways. Hypnosis is a great way of getting people into a very creative state, focusing the mind on that creative state and helping them to make a very lush representation. When you do that, your neurology is changing. That's great, but that's not the plan. This is the second part. And some people are great at picturing it and living it and wonderful and but they can't make the plan.
Yes.
And the plan is, okay, if I want to get over here, I've got to take 23 steps to get here. And they may change. I may have to find a roadblock and go around it, but I know I've got to take 23 basic steps to get there at the very least and enroll with whatever happens because I'm confident I have the ability. Well, in that 23 steps, there's maybe 20 steps in the first step. Until you break it down and like these are the steps I need to take, you're just kind of doing the pie in the sky piece,
And do you find that the sportsmen and women that are most successful have actually figured this out, whereas business guys, businessmen and women are decades behind this? Sports,
when you think about it, they've been doing this. They call it guided visualization, meditation. There's a million terms for what I call hypnosis. And one of the great examples back when he was doing well, I know Tiger Williams used to have a hypnotist travel with him at the time. I guess he didn't work on his life skill stuff as much as he worked on his other stuff.
He was very focused, I think.
Right, he was very focused. But since the 60s, it's been well known. Sports psychology started around that time. And I worked with sports psychologists and such. They're using visualization. They're using relaxation techniques, breathing techniques. They're using self-talk. They're using where you're focusing. They're using all the things that I use. I'm not reinventing the wheel with my methodology. I'm just taking the best of what I think after 22 years of dealing with people I've observed, the patterns that I've observed and change. And so therefore, I'm able to tell people very quickly where they're making the mistake and how they are either running their body, talking to themselves, focusing the perceptions, or where their beliefs are, and then what to do to change it.
But I think the other important thing is not to stress the hypnosis side, because hypnosis is just a tiny part of the arsenal that you have in getting someone to understand who they are and to make that connection with themselves.
Right. It's the big question I ask people, because people will come to me with a laundry list of here's why I'm messed up. And people will sometimes be smug, even I've been a psychologist, I've been a psychoanalyst, I've done this.
No one can fix me.
I have this disorder, right, this disorder, all these things. And they'll have this great story and they'll look at me and that's who I am. That's their identity. And just that look that says, now what are you going to do about it? And I'll say to them, well, first of all, how has this great understanding helped you?
Yes.
And they'll say it hasn't. And I'll say, good, because that's about as much as I need to hear about your problem. Unless I ask you otherwise, I'm never going to ask that you volunteer that background information again, because all I want to know is where are you and where do you want to go? And I'll help tweak the engine in the way that gets you where you want to go. If you're not where you want to go, it's because you're not using those 4 quadrants correctly, because that's what's going to make you perform better. That's what's going to raise the confidence. That's what's going to lower the stress. That's what's going to lead to a happier life.
And I think the very important thing here is the word you used before, which is neuroscience. This is a science. This is not a practice that has been recently generated as a result of someone having too much LSD in the 60s.
Now, wait a second. I don't know. There was a start in the 70s. Neurolinguistic programming started in the 70s. And I would hazard a guess some of the people might have explored different alternative understandings from the history of NLP that I've heard.
My point is, though, that this is something that is based and has a foundation in science.
It does. And it's becoming more based in science. We can do things now with the brain and the brain scans to show different things that we couldn't do 5 years ago. 10 years from now, it will look like this was in the infancy. What I'm noticing with hypnosis and the other modalities is this. It used to be, when I first went through school, I do hypnosis, you do this, you're a psychologist. We don't really talk to each other. especially the psychologists, because they were already established, right?
Yes.
Now, because of the internet, I think, and the metaphor I use is martial arts. It was my kung fu is better than your kung fu.
Yes.
And we don't interact with each other. We don't collaborate. Then mixed martial arts came along and people realized, well, there's good in this, good in this, good in this. You want to make a system that is these things. Actually, Bruce Lee was one of the first people to figure that whole put together your own method. With what we do, with what I do, it's become that collaborative thing. I find out someone went to a different school of hypnosis than me. I go, well, what's different about what they do? What can I learn from that? Somebody does this or the other thing. I will talk to them. And I've also noticed in the so-called established mind community, the psychologists, psychiatrists, much more of an openness towards hypnosis. Psychiatrists and psychologists that are studying hypnosis, truly studying it, not in a one-day course because their college offered it, but going and doing the kind of training I did because they want to really learn every aspect that they can of the human mind in order to help them. It's not as much anymore about my kung fu is better than your kung fu. It's about what's the most effective thing, and do you have something you can share with me that will make me more effective?
Yes. And so your book, just coming back to that, which is Life's Secret Formula, when's it coming out?
What's the date? We're looking at September.
Okay.
And it's based on that one formula, but there'll be other formulas in it because I think the human mind understands these formulas. If you give somebody, people love when I have a diagram that I'll do about the conscious, the unconscious, and people will get that on a certain level. They'll get the symbolic meaning of that on a certain level.
Because I think that if you look at the roadmap, how this sort of science and this self-help, I think, is a phrase that takes away from what we're doing. It's not self-help. It's much more, it's a scientific neuroscience approach to understanding what makes us tick.
Personal change, I think, is better than self-help. It's personal.
In the same way that you go to the gym to improve your body, this is the same effect, but people seem to
well, there's a prejudice, because the mind is sacrosanct. And one of the things that I talk about, and if you go to my website, you'll see I'm very open about in my biography, is I dealt with depression from a very young age, but it gave me a great insight into the human mind because I realized mine was different, that the world could go really bad or really good, and nothing had actually changed in my world, that it was very subjective. That's a great understanding at the age of 8, for what I'm going to be doing, right?
Yes.
I know adults that don't have that understanding. Exactly. They feel because their body's giving them a bad message, or they're talking horrible stuff in their brain, or they're focused on the worst things they can, or their deep beliefs are kind of south of where they want it to be. They feel the world is a bad place. They don't realize, no, I create this. I mean, so I was fascinated with this whole thing from a young age, but I was also very open about the fact that I was dealing with this mood disorder. And I've dealt with it, and I've learned to deal with it. And it's given me a lot of the techniques I use with people I had to use to survive. So they've been battle tested. If I could use it on a day where I was truly feeling like, there was no point to life and I just want to die, and I could still get out of bed and function because I was using all the techniques that I teach someone else. Well, when your brain chemistry is at parity with everyone else, you're like a Superman. The first time I really got past depression, I looked around and said, wow, why is anybody whining? It was really truly it was like I was walking around with a backpack for my whole life, and then I took it off and I'm like, man, I can jump really high. This is great.
Because I guess that is the biggest struggle, the biggest burden is actually trying to unburden yourself from yourself, or as you said earlier, trying to get out of your own way.
Yeah, Matthew, anyone who gets into these kind of professions, if they're not about improving themselves, please don't go to them.
Yes.
And you'll meet people in all aspects of every profession that are smug and that are kind of, by their own press, so to speak.
Yes.
But if you have a therapist, a hypnotherapist, whatever it is, and they're just think they're perfect in who they are, run, do not walk.
Yes.
I'm a fellow traveler.
Yes.
This is my clients have told me this. When I come to you, Ken, I feel like no matter what I say, you're not going to judge me because you've experienced it, done it. You've made mistakes, and you're very open about those mistakes you've made. I'm not trying to put myself out there as this guru of any sort. I just have had to learn some things in order to survive, that when I give it to the average person, they function much better. And when I give it to the person who's having a hard time functioning, they learn to function much better also. But I want to be really clear, because this is a misconception too. I work with a lot of high functioning people that aren't having a lot of personal problems, that are doing well, but one aspect of their life is missing. Give you the confidence example.
Yeah.
You can be confident in life. You can have a great family life. You can be confident in your spirituality. You can be confident in everything about you except X.
Yes.
And that holds you back. I've met a lot of great businessmen, and you know them too, that are great at business, that can talk in front of VC, can do all of that. But you give them a situation where they're talking to a beautiful woman, they lose all confidence.
Amazing.
Totally.
Yes.
Other business people I know are creative, great. They understand they believe in their business totally. They can sit there and tell me it. But if I say, great, I've got some VC investors that I want you to pitch to right now, they lose it.
Yeah.
Because they're bringing everything else into it. Their subjective reality doesn't include the part that says, I can do this well.
Yes.
So I'll teach them to do that well.
And I guess you must have case histories where you have made a significant, tangible difference to the performance of some of the people that you've worked with.
I've worked with people, and and you can't name the people, of course, but I've worked with people in every aspect, because this is overdoing this over a long time. I've worked in a lot of different aspects, from health issues to personal issues to business issues, all of it. And in fact, even can't use the word mental illness. I don't deal with illness because I'm not a doctor, but people who are totally paralyzed in their life to become functioning. People that were going through double mastectomies that healed faster than the doctors had ever seen.
Yes.
People who had lost the will to move forward and thought that life had basically kicked them to the curb. I get a lot of times when it's an executive, they're in their 50s sometimes, and they're hitting that point where they don't know what to do with themselves. They see the end of the road coming, and they think that is the end of the road, and they have to reinvent themselves.
But also, I guess you're saying you also speak to some real high achievers. So this is not all about pulling yourself out of the depths of depression or anxiety necessarily.
If you're a high achiever, think about this, Matthew. If you're a high achiever, one of the reasons you're probably a high achiever is that you use every tool available.
Correct.
And so you're going to want to use these tools. These are tools. That's it. If you get stuck in the feeling that kind of ego that says, oh no, I don't need that help. Well, isn't that kind of saying, oh no, I don't need a forensic accountant. I don't need this. I don't need this for my business, because it's a tool.
That's the thing that is most misunderstood. It's this feeling that help, assistance is to do with anxiety, depression, where you're looking at through the telescope the wrong way, as it were. But what you also do is incredibly powerful and helpful to take people to the next stage when they're already high achievers.
Even if you're already a high achiever, you can always tweak the engine. That's what I call it. I love tweaking the engine. Just a little adjustment there, a little adjustment there, and you're going to run a lot better.
Yes.
And there's, psychology was originally created by people that were studying the people that were at their worst.
Yes.
People with mental illness and conditions. And then the whole humanistic psychology came along in the 60s and the 50s that said, how about we study the people that excel?
Yes.
And learn how they do that. Well, part of what I do is I pattern the people that excel. How are they using those 4 quadrants differently than you are?
Yeah.
What is the belief of somebody that's a great, great at this, the thing that you want to do? There's a way actually that I use hypnosis for, because again, it doesn't make logical, reasonable sense to step into someone. Think about an authority figure in your field that you respect, that you know some things about.
Yeah, of course.
Some things about them. But there's a way I can literally take you into their mind in what's called a deep trance identification. And the words get in the way. Just think about it as a very lush guided visualization. But what we're doing is you're stepping into them, looking at your life through their lens, and then having them step into you. And what would they do over the next month if they were running the show? So to give you an example, let's go with Elon Musk. Everyone in business loves Elon Musk.
Absolutely.
If Elon Musk was able to step into your body for the next month and basically make the decisions for you, do you think your business will be better? If you sat with Elon Musk for an hour and he really looked at you and examined you and what you were doing, not just your business, but the whole journey that got you here and where you want to go, do you think that would be helpful?
And this is my point exactly. The fact is that just by framing it in ways that I can relate to or that I can understand, suddenly I would bite your hand off to your ankle to have that sort of opportunity. Just, whereas, half an hour ago, one can be incredibly skeptical, and I'm not. I really believe in what you're doing.
Well, just do this for a second. I want you to imagine if you had that ability, if you had the ability simply to step into other people and really get their worldview, which some people have naturally. It's called empathy. Like anything else, too much of it is bad. You become codependent.
Yeah.
Not enough of it is bad. You become somebody who's really not understanding other human beings. So empathy is an important aspect in who we are. But if you utilize it, if you accentuate it, if you do it to the point where, my God, I'm literally sitting in this guy's body looking at me, and I'm getting where I'm making a mistake from the eyes of Elon Musk as a businessman. By the way, if you're coming to me for relationships, I'm probably not going to use Elon Musk because I don't know what his relationship strategy is.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to say, give me some people that you have witnessed great relationships with. And here's the best part. It doesn't even have to be reality. It could be fiction. It could be someone you read about, their biography. You just have to know enough about them that your unconscious mind, your creative, emotional mind can make that schemata without the logical part getting in the way.
But this must be for someone that is intelligent enough to understand the value of what you're doing. After a 20-minute conversation, they must be more excited than they've ever been in their lives, because they feel that now they can be put on a journey of exploration, the likes of which they could never have had before.
They see the potential. The first session with people is generally, it's about helping them understand what it is they want and where they actually want to go, and then making it real to their emotional mind, having them literally meet themselves as they're going to be.
That's a great,
because that allows them to open up to the what if I could.
Yes.
Start there. We start with, let's get an idea of where you want to go, realize that it's never a straight line. And now I'll start applying the tools and teaching you the tools that will help you to get there. So if we were going to use the metaphor of, you're going to this other island where you want to be, you'd say, okay, well, let me help you with a compass and this and this and this, so that you have tools rather than just saying, there's an island out there, let me get on a boat and see if I can find it, which is what a lot of people do in their lives.
Yes. But I can tell you that just these few minutes, I'm brimming over with questions. I feel like I'm stepping into the first part of this amazing journey. So I'm sure I'm not alone. So I want everyone who's listening to this to contact you, because they would be crazy if they don't. So how do people get in touch with you? How do they find out more about, how you can not help them, but how you can help them to help themselves and help them, unlock what is happening between their two ears?
Well, the first thing to do is go to my website. It's kendubner.com. And when you go to my website, there's a lot of resources there. We met, partially because I was doing some Facebook videos, and we were
absolutely
tangential Facebook friends.
Yes.
And you approached me and said, I really like the videos you're doing. So I put those on. They were doing Facebook videos for friends about little nuggets, as I call it, giving out. Now I'm starting to do more just towards YouTube to get it on the website to give people that kind of content. Yep. But if you go to the website, there's actually a place where you can give me your name and your email, and I'll send you a bunch of gifts. One that's going to help you relax very quickly. Within 8 minutes, you're going to feel like butter. One that's going to help you step into confidence every day. One that's going to help you understand where you've been and where you want to go. And the final one, I'll leave that as a surprise. But there's plenty of stuff that I'd love to give you guys and help you guys. I have an online program, and you can find out about it on the website, where, not everyone can see me, although I work with people throughout the world, because I work with people online. I've worked on 3 different continents with people. I've worked with people I've never actually met in personal, real life. So I do that, but there's only so much of me to go around, and not everyone can frankly afford me.
Yes.
So I have an online program that's designed to teach you those tools. So you can find out all about that on the website.
Which is fabulous, the fact that you've done
I'll
that.
take you through the journey, no matter what. My passion is I want to help people, because I was at that bottom place as far as my self-esteem, who I was, what I wanted to do. I was stuck. I didn't see a way forward, all of that. And so my passion is every one of us, I don't care how high functioning you are. Yes. This is something I want to be really clear about, because you have to be respectful of the high functioning in business, because there are people, again, okay, what do you mean I got a problem?
I still don't know what that word means, but you're right.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. You got a prison, I got a prison. Everyone's got a prison. You got a curse. I've got a curse. Everyone's got a curse. And when I say that, you right now know exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't have to know what that curse is. I don't have to know what that prison is. But I guarantee you and everyone listening, think about this one statement. What's your curse in life? What's the thing that holds you back? What's the prison that you feel like you can't get out of? Everyone listening came up with something. Everyone needs to be free from a prison and step into their power. I was in a prison. I want to help other people break out of it, and I want to help them step into power. And if you're powerful, great. I'll help you be more powerful. But between you and me, and you don't have to tell the powerful people this. I don't care if you come to me as the most powerful person in the world. I'm still going to help you break out of some prisons that you may not see the walls of because they're real wide out there, but they're there. You may not see them, but ask your spouse, your closest friend. They probably see them for you. That's the other thing. There's a lot of denial when it comes to high functioning people. So if you're going to talk to me or if you're going to check out what I do, understand this. I can be brutally frank with people. It's one of, what was that called? Blunt trauma is what my nickname was when I was younger out in the comedy, because I would tell people straight out. I come from New Jersey. We're very honest. We just tell it like it is. And I'll sugarcoat it a little bit, but once you're in my office, I'll tell you straight. And if you don't know when you walk in that there's a problem, well, one, I'll say, what are you doing here? Because even if it is, I'm super high functioning, I want to be better at this. I want to build the business to this. I want to change to this. That means that you're not there yet. That's a problem. So I have to sometimes get people out of that part that says, no, we're all good. Everything's good. I'm great.
I'm just swing by.
Check it out. Yeah. There's an old thing back when I was learning hypnotherapy. The hypnotherapy aspect back then was very exotic, very esoteric. And so people would come to you, and it was invariable that someone would come to you back then, did a lot of habit control and things like that. Now, and I don't do that anymore unless it's part of what we're doing to help you change your life. But someone would come to you because of nail biting, or they couldn't be on elevators, or they wanted to quit smoking, all that stuff. And they tell you that was why they were there, but 2 sessions in, you've kind of gotten past the nail biting, and now they're actually telling you what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
Because we go with that little identifying thing. Oh yeah, I bite my nails.
But,
and then you find out, but I've never had a quality relationship. You know? But my business is in tatters because I'm not showing up fully. But it starts with that I bite my nails because that logical part, that adult grown-up-y little self-talk dialogue wants to maintain to my adult sounding little kid.
Exactly.
And everything's fine. We're all good.
Yeah.
We're all good. So think about this. What's your curse? Because I'll tell you this, whatever your curse is, you can overcome it or you can modify it. You can change your circumstances.
Fantastic.
And when you do that, you become stronger. It becomes your superpower. Depression was my curse. It changed my life. It's the canvas upon which my life has been painted. But because of that, I've changed people's lives. I've saved people's life. I've seen depression in other human beings and helped them. But more so, I've studied the mind for my whole life and been able to travel the world, been able to talk to thousands of people, been able to change people on a one-on-one in a group situation. That's a gift.
Yes.
So even though having depression wasn't the greatest thing to grow up with, I couldn't give it up. It's part of who I was on my journey. It defined me. It gave me the need to develop certain skill sets. So think about this, Matthew. I'm not going to ask you to say it out loud, but what's your curse?
Yes.
Realize that in overcoming that curse, you will become stronger than you've ever been. I get to walk around with a vague sense of superiority. And I think you saw me talk at Metal, where I talk to, I'll talk to businessmen. At that place, I was talking to millionaires, maybe billionaires. We don't know in that audience, right? And one of the things I said to them is, I want you all to understand, no matter how impressive your resume is, no matter who's got the 3 Lamborghinis that are out front, all of that great stuff, none of you impress me. And there was like that audible gasp in the audience. Who talks to us? Everyone goes to that gathering of high-functioning business leaders, and they're always like, it's so honored to be here in front of these people of great success. You've done this, created this industry, boom, boom, boom. I was the first person that ever said that to them. And I said, here's why you don't impress me. Live for a day in my 5-year-old brain with the bad neurochemistry I had. Don't make the decision to jump in front of traffic the day that I made the decision not to do it. then I'll think you're strong. So I walk around with a vague sense of superiority because while I haven't mastered my curse, it's always going to be a part of me.
But
It informs me. And in the struggle with it, I honestly feel I'm stronger than most people I see.
You know, it is just fascinating talking to you. Honestly, I'm just, you know, I'd like to sort of, you know, cancel everything for the next month and just because it's such a deep dive into who you are and it's uncharted territory, and it is the most fabulous journey, the most exciting story. So I, you know, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and for coming on the show, you know, and I can't wait to get you back on.
Definitely. And, you know, I part of what I do is I talk to people about my journey as much as anybody else would talk about their journey. A lot of therapists, again, they try and put themselves up on the pedestal. You know, I'm here as a fellow traveler. Everything I've learned in life is going to be helpful to me with what I do with that person. So I'll let them know. I'll self-disclose. But in doing that, I'm using it to teach. I'm using it to help them grow. And because I wasn't, you got me in a very great space where I'll tell you, you've asked me questions no interviewer has ever asked me. So I want to definitely give some nuggets of straight, you know, do this kind of stuff. So go to the website, go to kendubner.com, give me your email address, and I will send you some nuggets. And you'll know that they're nuggets because each one of them is just a little piece of gold.
Yes.
You can apply a little exercise that you can do to help change, something you can do every day, something that you can do once to help clarify some stuff. I'll give you that tool set, you know, to help you start on your journey.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you. And so I can't wait. And I'll put all of your details all over the website and, you know, all over the podcast to make sure that everyone knows how to contact you. But Ken, thank you for being such a brilliant guest on the show. And
thank you, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
Look forward to, you know, you've been listening to Hooked on Startups, and look forward to, you know, speaking to you again. Thanks very much.
Great.